Alright, how is everyone doing today? Most of you probably already know me from some of the previous speeches I have done, but in case you don't, my name is Taylor Gwinnett. I'm 17 years old and I am a senior at Russellville High School. Now, there's a little bit about me, so I'm going to introduce you to the topic. We're all doing this intercultural speech, and I chose to do mine over one of my friends. Like, I interviewed one of my friends on the soccer team. His name is Akshar Patel. He is Indian, and his family still practices a lot of their culture. I've learned, and it's something that I already thought about, is that we may come from two completely different cultures. Like, our cultures don't line up at all, like the things that we practice. But fundamentally, we have the same. Like, we are this. Like, fundamentally, we're not that different. Like, we both, like, I'll explain more in the speech, but fundamentally, we're not that different. Now, now that you know everything, I'm gonna transition into my speech. We have been told for years, that everyone is different. Cultures are different. They're not the same. At least that's what I've been told. That we're different from them because they act certain ways, they do different things than the way we do them. But that's just not the case. Even though people can be from different cultures, we can share a lot of similarities fundamentally in the way that we practice our different cultures. So, like I mentioned before, I talked to someone who's grown up in an Indian culture. Now, he wasn't born in India, but his parents were, and so were some of his siblings. So they are still in practice with a lot of Indian cultures. Now, let's get into now that you know what we're talking about, let's get right into it. One thing is that most cultures differ is our religions. Now, religion is a huge thing all around the world, and it's something that is not going to stay the same between cultures because there's just so many religions, and even within some religions there's different subsections of religions. But what I've learned is that even though we have our specific religions, there's still some similarities deep down, maybe not within the religions, but how we learn them. Our respective religions, he is Hindu, I'm Christian, or Southern Baptist, whatever you want to say. But our respective religions were both passed down to us by our parents. They're both things that our parents and their parents have passed down, because religion is something that it usually runs in families. Now, usually there are people that stray away from that, but usually you learn from your parents or grandparents or someone in your family. Another similarity which I thought was interesting is that we both have services on Sundays. We just say we're going to church on Sundays, but they say they're going to temple, which is, it's the same thing as going to church. We both go to further our knowledge in our religion and to further our faith in what we believe in. Now, both religions include music and singing. Our worship includes singing, which I thought was it's obviously not the same type of music, but it's a similarity there, is that we both use music and singing for our worshiping. Alright, now that we've discussed about religion, let's talk about something that everyone knows about, which is food. Everyone's always excited to talk about food. Now, there are a lot of similarities, but there's not as many similarities. But he does not eat meat because he is Hindu. Not all Hindus don't eat meat, but his family does not eat meat, so he's a vegetarian. Now, even though it's not the same, we have vegetarians in our culture. Now, it's not the same reasoning, but it's they're both vegetarians. Now, what I would call a home cooked meal is my mom makes mashed potatoes, roast beef, some green beans, maybe some rolls. Now, that's not what he would call a home cooked meal, but we both have home cooked meals that are prepared by our parents. Like, that's something that, even just because he's from a different culture doesn't mean his mom's, like, not going to cook for him. Like, they still prepare us meals. Now, I've actually had the pleasure of trying Indian food, and I really enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy spicy food, so I enjoy the different spices that they use. I really enjoy, like, rice and the curry. I think the meal that he prepared for me was chicken tikka masala, but it didn't have chicken in it, so they did a substitute because they don't eat meat. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and now that I've tried it from him, I've actually enjoyed going to Indian restaurants. But one of the last things is because just because he's from a different culture doesn't mean we don't eat the same food. Like, there are times where, like, him and I have hung out and we've gone to fast food restaurants. I mean, like, he doesn't eat the same thing I do because obviously he's vegetarian, but we still go to fast food restaurants. He's not isolated just because he's from a different culture. Now that we've talked about food, let's talk about what happens in our everyday lives. Our hobbies and interests, are pretty much similar. They're not as different as you might think just because we come from different cultures. Yes, we did come from different cultures, but we both grew up in America. We both enjoy sports. As I mentioned before, we're both on the soccer team. So we really enjoy that. And then we both play basketball. He played basketball when he lived in Chicago, because he just moved here a couple years ago. But when he played basketball when he was in Chicago, and I love basketball. I've mentioned that before, that it's my favorite sport. I play with friends, and he used to play it actually at school. Another thing is our taste in music. I was interested to find out that our taste in music is really similar. His mom does have, like, traditional music sometimes, like, on at home, but for the most part he listens to the same music I do, which I thought was really neat. And then we both just enjoy hanging out with our friends, relaxing, watching TV. We're not, like, he's not isolated from the things that we do, which I thought was really interesting. And I just thought it was really cool to find out that even through, like, our different ways we're raised, like the different ways our parents were raised, that we still enjoy the same hobbies, the same food, and, like, we both practice religions that were passed down from our parents. And I just thought that was really neat to find out. And even though some of our cultures, like some parts of our culture, could not be more different, like the fact that his religion, like, has I think around, like, he said they have tons of gods. And I only have one. Now, like, even though, like, some aspects of our lives could not be more different, fundamentally, we share a bunch of similarities.